Howdy y'all, Joe Hills here, recording as I was due in Nashville, Tennessee, and today on Hermitcraft, we need to empty our gallery. We got a bunch of stuff in there, we don't know where we need to deliver it, but we do need to ship it out and package it up so that when it is ready to be delivered, we can get it where it needs to go. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a weird episode, a little different, a little experimental if you will, because I've got an amazing comment submission by Mike Sugarbaker. He is the host of a podcast called Think Again, My Friend, which is kind of a funny quiz show that I've actually been listening to for several years on account of Brendan Adkins being one of the regular guests on there, and he's one of my favorite comedians ever. But what I got this great comment from Mike Sugarbaker that was like maybe 4 or 5 paragraphs of incredibly well thought out critique of the architecture of my gallery. And I said to him via Twitter, I was like, dude, this is an amazing comment, and I would love to present it during my next episode. Would you mind reading it aloud on like into your podcast microphone, because I know you have some good stuff, and that way we can like share it with everybody. And he actually sent back an extended kind of version of that original comment. So even if you actually read his comment when it originally went live, he had to one-up it. Dang it, I'm just ruining stuff. That was not supposed to be destroyed. So you can tell that this text I'm performing now is live because I'm just messing things up left and right. Let's see. So we'll put some of that there. Boom. That looks intentional. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do this episode is there's going to be kind of a few points where we're going to have big time skips. And in the process of kind of parsing those time skips, it seems logical to me to kind of intersperse the audio from his kind of interesting commentary. And I've never really done this before, so I'm not going to apologize for it, because I feel like part of what I want to do is always push boundaries and try to be bold. Not that accepting pre-recorded calls is really pushing a boundary, but it is something different from what I've done before. And so if you like it, let me know in the comments. If you don't like it, let me know in the comments. These are equally valid positions, and don't let anybody tell you that you have a crazy idea, because it might be a valid position. Now, in this case, what I got to do is I got to build a barge to actually start loading all this stuff onto, because I can't just store this in my shipping and receiving area. We got new artwork coming in inevitably. So I'm going to start laying down some rails here and building the actual barge, and I'll let Mike Sugarbaker actually go ahead and introduce himself and talk a little bit about why he thinks he is equipped mentally to comment on the gallery project.
Hey Joe, thanks for taking my call or something. I want to qualify what I have to say by just making clear that my direct personal experience with the commercial art world, and I mostly include nonprofit and state-run entities that deal in the fine arts because they're doing business in their own way. But my direct personal experience is limited mostly to hearing my college professors talk about their experience with it. And, their experience is, well, they were professors for a living. So, it should be maybe taken with a couple of grains of salt. But I also have spent a fair amount of time paying attention to that world, and there are things that you can observe. And watching somebody create a gallery, as I think in a very real sense you've been doing on Hermitcraft, has made me reflect on it for a while now, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk about it a little.
Well, it appears I don't have any errors. That was excellent planning on my part. Thank you, Mike, for those initial opening comments, and thank you whoever put that boat there for capturing that zombie. So what I figure roughly I'm doing here with this particular piece of the project is just kind of setting up some places that we can deliver chests to for storage long term. I figure nobody's going to come out here and get this stuff blown up by a creeper, so it's relatively safe, all things considered. Now that we kind of heard like Mike's rough approach to this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start breaking down some of these pieces of art while he explains what he thinks I could do better with the gallery itself, vis-a-vis the glass meeting the clay walls, meeting the ceiling, meeting the sky. So I'm going to go ahead and time-lapse this a bit and let you think about what he's saying. Now, I know that this isn't me. He's got a different style, he's got a different voice, but he is actually being fairly thoughtful here. And even though I might not agree with everything he says, it actually has given me some interesting ideas that I'm going to address once I finish this time lapse. So, time lapse.
The first thing that every art institution does is they create a sense that you're leaving the ordinary world a little bit. And part of that is just kind of the white walls, the very neutral environment that they put artwork into most of the time. That's not 100% thing, and I would never want you to sacrifice the kind of bold architectural stroke of really making the natural mesa wall a part of your gallery. But I think there is more you could do to set the art off. Really, first and foremost, you want to make the buyer feel like they have left the ordinary world and taken a step into this fancier, calmer, frankly wealthier world that your gallery represents. But certainly at least giving the areas where the art is really set in and the places where you have cut into the mesa very evidently, you could maybe cover with some kind of a more neutrally colored material. And I don't want to say to set off against the natural material, because all materials in Minecraft are quote-unquote natural. I have no actual idea if marble is a thing in vanilla Minecraft 1.9. I've been playing Feed the Beast, so I don't actually have any idea. Sorry about that. I like that in your video with Cubfan, you guys are clearly kind of thinking of the courtyard space and the path on the other side as public space. And I think one of the most important things that galleries and museums do is take that kind of public space role of create park-like environments in commercial environments. That's really important, as well as putting art into commercial environments, which I think is also really important.
Well, now that we've removed two pieces of our gallery, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what Mike just said. You know, he mentions that he thinks that this is not a space that feels special in that, or wealthy, in that it's not removed from the natural world. It doesn't have that kind of white look that a traditional gallery would. And, you know, that's okay, I think. I think that the first pass on the gallery we did was pretty good. I knew I wanted it to fit into the mesa and to be an extension of the mesa. But at the same time, I wanted it to celebrate it without being confined by it. So let's just kind of think about that for a second. Like, I've got this beautiful glass here that matches up and meets up with the actual stripes that it would actually meet in the mesa wall itself. Now, one thing I was thinking about when I first read his comment was about ways to make this space kind of less distracting visually without removing that particular element. And one thing that I kept kind of coming back to was trying to come up with a palette that allowed me to kind of tone down the natural colors of the mesa. So, like, if you look at these stripes here, they each correspond kind of with the clay color that they match up with. Like, this dark stripe here matches with this dark clay, right? If I hit this with the bow, no, not the bow. So you see light gray stained clay, then we get light gray glass. It's literally like 1-to-1. Whatever color was on here for the most part, with the exception of like orange and pink, I kind of mixed with the normal hardened clay a little bit. It's basically that. Yellow becomes yellow. In fact, this one should be yellow, following that concept. But I don't know that we want to follow that concept, actually. I've been thinking about this ever since I first saw his comment, and I realized maybe there's something to be said for kind of bleaching the mesa a little bit. So colors that are already nearly white would become white stained clay, and colors that are darker would kind of move one step toward the pastel range. So we might take kind of the red stripes here, and instead of having red mesa clay, we mix in kind of this kind of normal hardened clay. And where we have anything lighter than that, where we have pink or yellow or whatever, we switch to white stained clay. Now, I'm not sure exactly how that's actually going to work, so I wanted to kind of actually try it, as I got to say the word actually like a million times in this video. at least superficially here. So I'm going to kind of remove some of these layers, and now it's not going to really, to convey this, we're going to have to do a pretty big vertical slice, but we don't actually have to change the entire gallery horizontally speaking. Like, I feel like if we just kind of come through here and knock out this kind of one little segment, that'll give us a good sense of how this would look if we were to apply it everywhere, and kind of an idea of which colors would be appropriate to substitute for which other colors. So like I said, I'm not really going to go all the way deep here. We're just trying to do this fairly superficially. So replace these like so. Now, and I'm thinking too that replacing these red sand stairs might also be appropriate at that point. Now, switching all to white sandstone with occasional red sand accents might make sense. There's also some new stairs coming out in the Minecraft 1.10 or whatever, so I think that that's going to be worth looking into as well. I should probably put a torch here since this wasn't previously exposed. It might be problematic. But yeah, so if we take any yellow and we make it white, and then we take like this this brown here. Like, I'm not sure what a more pastel, like almost making the brown yellow might be too bright still. Maybe making the brown light gray stained clay. Now, I'm sure you guys are like, well, Joe, where are you going to get light gray stained clay? Well, I saw some up here that I can turn white because light gray is already kind of closer to white. Although, yeah, so if we take, kind of pop in over here, we grab some of this, and we turn that white. Wow, that actually, oh, well, huh. Oh, I guess this kind of was white almost already. But anyway, so we kind of come in here. So white stained clay for that. And then we take the light gray stained clay and we apply it where this brown was. Like so. So that's kind of a little bit darker and it doesn't really distract. But yeah, I feel like having, if we had the stripes go all the way around the gallery and meet up with things, then that would work well. Now, Mike has some things to say about the ceiling, or lack thereof, and let's hear him out, but I'm going to tell you, this is more of a prompt to encourage you guys to think about possible options, because I'm going to explain the ideas that I had that I have since rejected. So let's hear what Mike has to say.
Now, I hesitate to recommend that you add a roof to the gallery because I think that might make it a little bit like, it would make it look a little bit like a sports stadium or something, at least any way that I can imagine you doing it. So that might be worth some more thought.
Okay, well, having replaced some of these striations with more subdued colors, I feel like the whole thing does work. But to talk a little bit about the roof and kind of some thoughts on that, I actually had originally intended for this to have like a really cool like ice cream frozen yogurt spirally roof, and it was just going to be too many resources, and I was kind of happy with the way it worked initially. And other ideas I've had were to like have a multi-tiered like cloud roof where I make a few white glass clouds that are at various elevations above this, and that would actually enclose the space without being actually kind of like looking like a Superdome type thing. Because, yeah, the Superdome thing is a problem. One of the reasons I kind of thought the frozen yogurt spiral cone thing wasn't a good idea is I felt like it would look too much like False's crazy jellyfish thing way off in the distance back there, which is also made of glass and looks really awesome. And I wanted this to be a unique thing on the server. So maybe having a series of, like I said, overlapping glass clouds at various elevations would be one way to do it. But if y'all have any thoughts, I'm definitely open to hearing them. And obviously, you know, I've open to hear all sorts of constructive criticism. You know, some of the notes about having kind of the art stand on its own in the space is one of the reasons I kind of tried doing this charcoal floor here around the artwork pieces individually. Didn't really try it on that one as much, and maybe that's to my detriment that I didn't. But I was worried that this piece wouldn't look like something people could jump into if I had it look too removed, whereas this is not something you were supposed to jump in or around, because you could actually get stuck if you jumped in these holes when the artwork was in here. So that was something I was trying to deter. I am thinking, though, maybe having the floors, like this charcoal texture, is the closest thing to marble we're going to get. So having the floors in general all be like this, but maybe with some sort of outer tinge of the white stained clay. Maybe having those bone blocks once we get the upgraded version of the server set up. I don't know, something like this. Now, I do need to break down these two pieces as well, but I don't have enough Silk Touch enchanted equipment on me to do that reasonably today. So let's just see. Yeah, so you see how the stripes here still kind of lightly match up, but it's a looser striping or a more bleached striping. So the yellow and the white hits the brown and that, and the orange hits that. Pink becomes white. White stays white ideally. I kind of actually need to, if I'm going to do this, to actually kind of communicate it, I need to be a little bit more aggressive here with my replacements. It's kind of hard sometimes when you're working on something like this to figure out, like, how much do you have to do to actually show what you're trying to accomplish, because if this looks terrible, I don't want to have accidentally already redone the entire gallery. But on the other hand, I can't tell if it's gonna look terrible until I do a significant amount of it. So, there we go. Yeah, that seems to broadly work. Keep falling down here. Now let's see. I'm gonna probably leave these chests in place for right now, and then depending on the types of new pieces I get, I'm gonna put them in different places around the gallery and reconfigure a lot of this. But yeah, now that I'm thinking about this, like if I brought this red down to pink and the yellow down to white, like there's just a lot more that could be, like, this doesn't have to be bright yellow here. Like, if we can still have stripes and still have it look good. So yeah, let's take all the red. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. Yeah, see, like having that the more subdued color, I think it's okay. It's gonna be fine. It's not gonna ruin the original vision. It's an improvement iteratively on the original vision. Like in Nashville, our like favorite museum is called the Frist. And the Frist is this beautiful Art Deco building that was constructed during the Depression. And I'm using the wrong blocks here because I'm talking about the Frist instead of thinking about what I'm doing. It was a beautiful Art Deco building built during the Depression to serve as the city's post office for downtown. And they iterated on it. They made the building better and better over the years as a post office, and then they made it into an art gallery, and they continue to improve it in that way. Like when they were talking about how when I went on this tour for one of my old jobs, we were having an event there, and I was doing some graphic design work, and I needed to know about the architecture of the building so I could design better posters for the event. Because that's how serious graphic designers actually get stuff done. Research. But anyway, not that I'm serious about anything I do. They were talking about how they had to kind of reclaim some of the original architectural intent of the building from the kind of years of wear and tear that being an active working post office in a major metropolitan area would like incur. And so kind of, even though they're like restoring the building, they're also kind of reinterpreting the building. They also had to make the building accommodate artwork in a way that it hadn't in the past. So, they did have to put in a bunch of white walls, but they also tried to keep as much of what they liked about the building in place as they could. So, yeah, see, we've got this kind of subtler mesa. And, yeah. So the thing is, like I said, I wanted to bring the red down to the hardened clay, but what I actually want to do is bring the existing hardened clay down to white, which probably would have been better to do first. Let's go ahead and grab more of this and just kind of go through here. So there's going to be a lot more white in general on here than there used to be. And it is going to, like I said, have a bleached look. But that's just one less thing to distract the viewer, I think, from the artwork that we're actually trying to highlight here. Because, as Mike mentions in this next segment, I actually am trying to legitimately create a place for artwork. This is a working gallery. It's not necessarily working very well, because the organized crime on the server just bought all the artwork. But, I mean, it's working in some ways. So let's go ahead and just munch on a little bit of that. I haven't figured out what I want to do with the orange that is the floor yet, but anyway, here are some more notes from Mike while I run through here and patch up additional stuff.
I don't want to get deep into like criticizing your curatorial choices, especially since even though genre of Minecraft is so ephemeral, you actually have to work just as hard to move things as you do to install them, which is really strange and kind of hard. But I almost wonder, and the other thing I mentioned in the comment was a thing that museums often do is sell naming rights to common areas and public areas. Really, any area that's striking, you could do it with the staircase, with the courtyard, with the lobby, the place where people stand while they're deciding where to walk to. You could maybe pull in a few diamonds for that. I know there's going to be people watching this who are like, wow, this guy is just really overthinking this kind of jokey addition to Hermitcraft, and I don't think I am. I have been thinking about this for a long time. Close to 20 years ago, I had a website up about my Marathon Infinity levels that said that video game levels are the oral tradition of architecture. I don't think that's actually true. To be an oral tradition, people would have to copy and modify things a lot more than they really do, even to this day. But there's something really valuable about an architecture that can be theoretical, not bound by physical properties, but also still be tied to people using it. I think that's really important for architecture, to have people using it. And Minecraft architecture is probably the most popular example of theoretical architecture that gets used at the same time. As far as the play and the community of Minecraft, I don't know of any more successful environment than Hermitcraft. So I thank you so much, Joe Hills, for doing what you do and for making me a small part of it. And in conclusion, think again, my friend. Show.
Okay, so I've cleaned this up a good deal. Dang it, of course there's always places you miss. Can never get everything perfect on the first pass, but that's why we're just making one first pass. We're just trying to get a general sense, and I think that the lines on the outside will still match up in here. I think from the outside, having the white internally will actually reinforce the outer colors more rather than distract him from it, because you're not going to ever look at this from a straight-on angle. And so I think this should be great. Thank you again so much to Mike Sugarbaker from the show Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. You can, no, not Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. Did I say that earlier? It's Think Again, my friend. Dang it, did I say Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me more than once? If I did, I meant Think Again, my friend. Dang it. It's kind of like Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, except better. Dang it, I'm easily confused. I'll have to review that footage from earlier. But anyway, yes. From Mike Sugarbaker from Think Again, my friend. You can find him at thinkagainmyfriend.show and on Twitter as @Misuba. I'm going to link both of those in the comments. This is the worst place to stand for this episode's ending because you can't see the actual changes, whereas that right there is the best place to stand. Can I make that jump? I believe in me. Yeah, see, that actually kind of shows what this place looks like if it's a little bit more subdued. Once we do the stairs in some quartz, I think, if we mix the stairs with quartz and sandstone, I think it's going to come together really well. And we'll extend the charcoal floor areas extensively to match the artwork we put in. And this is going to be good. I think you guys are going to be pleased once we actually get the whole thing done. So, thanks again, Mike, for your comment. Thanks to everybody who sends comments in on the youtube.com. You guys are awesome. And until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.